first proposed coat of arms of the United States, designed by Pierre Eugene. So immediately surrounding the shield, you see the 13 colonies. But let's go into the symbolism. At the top, you see a rose, which is referencing the War of Roses in regards to England. Next to it, you see the thistle, which is meaning Scotland. Then you have the harp, which is for Ireland. And we know that the harp is played while the boar's head is brought in, symbolizing the celebration of cutting off the Moor's head. Next to that, you see the flower de luce for France. And we know the French had the French protectorate when colonizing the Moorish Empire. Then you have the imperial eagle saber for Germany or Austria. And the sixth, the Belgic lion for Holland. The double-headed eagle is also with the Scottish Rite, but the faces are facing east and west, and it has one body. And that is symbolizing again the Moorish Empire reaching from east all the way across the great Atlantic Ocean into the west. It is of Hittite origin, and the Moors are the bloodline of the Canaanites, Moabites, and Hittites. On the left, you see the mother holding up the stick, and it has the Moorish fez hanging from it, also known as the Liberty Cap of Freedom, which the abolitionists wore. But they tell you the abolitionists was trying to free the slaves, but in fact, they was of the bloodline of the Moors trying to free their brothers. So these symbols are pointing out the countries from which these states have been peopled. But none of them are from America. But their children today will jump up and down and swear to the death that they're American. But they're not American. Just because you're born in America, it don't make you American. If I'm born in Japan and I walk around talking about I'm Japanese, they will see me as crazy because I'm not honoring my bloodline. You're not honoring Austria, Germany, Ireland, Scotland, England. You're throwing away your ancestors' bloodline to call yourself what? White, and say you're American. But again, if you're born and raised in Japan, running around pale-skinned European, talking about you're Japanese, you're going to be seen as crazy. So the nations of the world look at all of you that are in America calling yourself Americans crazy. The true definition of American is the various copper tone peoples found on the continent by the Europeans. To this day, the United States banner still identifies those stripes as colonies, and colonies are colonial. It's colonial period, which means colonizing through slavery, through murder and theft. And you still identify and honor those terms that allude to slavery, including white. Because if you're claiming you're white, there's an inferior race which they call black. That's the problem with America. They're the only ones who call themselves colors. The true possessors of America and over the Atlantic Ocean, where what they call Morocco, are the Moors, because they're bound to the land by heritage. They wasn't all brought to the Americas by slavery. They was found here by the Europeans already. The ones today that is misnomered as black. And the ones that are called Indians, when Christopher Columbus came to these lands, he seen that the people was dressed like the Muslims in the East. Indians come from India. So you can't say that the ones that are calling themselves Native Americans who call themselves Indians are from America. Because again, Indians come from India, which is really Hindustan. India started from the East India Company, so it's really a British company. Besides, we have the manuscripts where Indians had to register with the Methodist Church, and all of the Moorish schools were turned into Indian schools. So I just wanted to do a decoding of this image, and now you see why they didn't use it. Because if they did, we would always look and know that our ancestors came from a different land. And nowadays they call themselves white, talking about illegal immigrants and all that, when their ancestors was indeed immigrants coming off of Ellis Island boats with nothing but a picnic basket. But now you got nerve enough to tell people that was always been in America that they can't cross a line. Well, what are you going to do one day when people in North Carolina starts telling people in South Carolina that they can't cross their border and come to North Carolina? It's the same thing, just like what they call Canada, which is really Canaan land. That's North America. Just because they put an imaginary boundary through a line, you think that it's a totally different country. It's one continent. Everybody's American, all the way down to South, Central, North America. It's all America. So how dare you call these people immigrants on their own land that you're standing on, and their ancestors was here way before yours. That's why they're flooding in, because they know that what you're saying is BS. The man that recognized so-called Texas's sovereignty was a French man named Guizant during the Louisiana Purchase that was sold to Thomas Jefferson through illegal colonization, which the Moors took the U.S. to court and won back all that land. But they don't have it to this day because it's still being colonized. I suggest you take a trip to the Library of Congress and you sit in there and you study for a year. The manuscripts I found said that everyone in Texas today are really of French nationality. But that's across the ocean. That's not American. So how are you going to be a sovereign state when your descendants are of French nationality? But telling people that they can't come to that territory when their ancestors was here before you. You see what I mean? That's why they're doing what they're doing. So how dare pale-skinned Europeans tell these people they can't come across that imaginary line when all the continent is together? Again, it's like telling you you can't go north, which is in line with what we was demonstrating in the temple today in regards to United States. Joe Biden named his son Beau. When you look up Beau, the etymology is French. When you look up Joe Biden's secretary, it's Pierre. She's French. Because now North America is under French protectorate. That's why they use the white identification, so they can be ambiguous and you don't have to really think about your bloodline. Because if you did, you'd realize that you're not home. Your home is across over in Cornwall, Austria, Hallstatt, Russia, Germany, and all that. I left the best for last, brothers and sisters. As we know, Thomas Jefferson gave his oath upon the Quran, and that is the eye of Allah. The triangle is representative of the Trinity or triune principle, the harmonies of life, and is representative of each of us as we are and come from a Trinity. Thus, it is the symbol of civilization, as in the pyramid of the Great Seal of civilization. When we join with another person, we join the forces of positive and negative, male and female, and we create another person, trinity of sun, moon, rising. This symbol has been called the hex alpha, Star of David, and represents as above, so below. Thus, the symbol of law, astronomy, the compass and square, encapsulates the same. So when they say, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, you can't make a son without a father and a mother, so they're turning the mother into a ghost. I leave you in peace and love.